Loops in programming are a way of repeating actions. Let's look at three different kinds of loop: a for loop, a while loop, and a do-while loop. All of the loop examples are attached to a game object, and we'll check the response in the console. First off, let's take a look at a while loop. The while loop is used to simply perform an action whilst a condition is met. In this example, we have a variable called cups in the sink. We have 4 cups in the sink. While the number of cups in the sink is more than 0, we need to wash them up. So we're simply logging I've washed a cup and subtracting 1 from the value of our cups in the sink variable. So this loop will continue 4 times as we have 4 cups. Let's see this in action. And you can see we've washed up 4 cups. Next, let's take a look at the do-while loop. The do-while loop is similar to the while loop, but sometimes it's important to perform an action at least once, and then perform further iterations of a loop whilst a condition is met. In this example, we are trying to guess an age between 25 and 30. We've put in the correct age of 27, and we have an integer for guessing age. The do-while loop in this instance runs the guess function until the guess age meets the correct age. So we're doing guess whilst the guess age is not equal to the correct age. When this condition is no longer met, we move on to the next line of the script, which logs correct I'm and the correct age. So the guess is simply saying assign guess age a random range between 25 and 30, and then we're adding or subtracting to try and guess that age, and then we're logging a guess of a particular age into the console. Let's see what this does. So you can see we've guessed 28, then we've guessed 27. 27 was correct, so the do-while loop finishes and we print correct, I'm 27. Let's see that again. And you can see we're getting a deviation because random will guess a number of different times, and you can see it's tried 25, then 26, and finally 27, which has been verified to be correct. Next, the for loop. This is probably the most common and flexible loop. The for loop works by introducing a controllable number of iterations to a loop. Functionally, it begins by checking the condition in the loop, seen here as I is less than num enemies, and if the condition is met, it carries out the instructions in the loop's body, i.e. what is between the curly braces. After each loop, known as an iteration, it can optionally increment a value, seen here in the third argument where I is being incremented by 1 each time. This process then starts over. Let's look at this from a coding standpoint. The syntax for this has 3 arguments. First off, we introduce a variable. This is known as the iterator. This is used to count through the iterations of the loop, i.e. the loops themselves. The second argument is a condition that must be true in order for the loop to continue. Finally, the third argument defines what happens to the iterator in each loop. Usually this means adding to the iterator in order to step through the loop. It's common in programming to start counting at 0, so for the first loop, I will be 0, and then the operation I++, adding 1 to I, will be performed. Then on the second loop, I will be 1, and so on, until I is no longer less than, in this example, the num enemies variable. So we have an integer called num enemies which is set to 3, so once this loop has happened 3 times, I will be equal to the value of num enemies, and therefore the loop will not be run again, as the validation condition will be false. So we will not see the message creating enemy number 3 in the console, because when I is equal to 3, it will no longer be less than num enemies, and so it will not run the loop body's commands. In this example, we're logging the value of I to the console alongside the text creating enemy number to demonstrate its addition, as well as a potential practical application of a loop. Put simply, any operation that you need carried out a defined number of times should be placed within a for loop. Let's see this in action. And you can see it logs 3 times, first showing the value of I as 0, then 1, and then 2. So there's a lot of flexibility in what you can do with different loops, and you should always consider using them when repeating different actions based on certain conditions.